Welcome to Spirited Straight Talk, the podcast to help you thrive with the help of spirit. I'm Deb Shepard, psychic medium, spiritual teacher, and author. Each week, I bring new insights to help you heal from loss, connect with spirit, and turn setbacks into triumphs. So let's get started. We want to welcome everyone to the new year. This is 2024. I am here with Dana. We're so excited that the new year brings a lot, and we are bringing you a series, not just one, not just two, but 3 different podcasts regarding the new year. So there is absolutely, without a doubt, you will get the tools that you need to have a prosperous 2024 or healthy or whatever that looks like for you.
Well, I'm excited.
Yeah, absolutely. And each of us have a different take on how we interpret the new year. And to let everyone know, we do have this intuition that we bring to this, and there's free will out there. And so to me, when you bring in predictions, it's not like you have to live this way or there's a lot of fear, but it's giving you the idea of how to look and lean into the new year, how to feel that you're in the best power because you have the wisdom and insight beforehand to follow through on the things that you want to create, manifest, release, whatever those things are. And for some people, the new year means, I can start over. This chapter in my life from last year is done. Or maybe I'll continue this time, I'll continue what I've been creating. And for some people, it's just another day in life. But whatever that is, we are here to give you a 3-part series on how to look forward to 2024. Of course, I'm here with the beautiful Dana with a little bit of a cold.
Hello, once again. Yes, a little bit of a cold, but all is good.
And so I have some things that I meditated on, got some little information on. So this is just some little tidbits to help everybody out in my perception of these things. It is also the year of the dragon, which we're going to talk about, which is in the Chinese New Year, which starts, I think it's sometime in February. That's the Chinese New Year. So putting all these things in place, you're going to have so many freaking tools. It's going to be great.
Yeah. And this first one is about your predictions and what you got after meditating, talking to your guides, all of that. The second one is all about numerology with Glynis McCants,
which has fabulous energy.
And then the third one is all about Vedic astrology and what the stars are aligning to create for us in 2024.
Which is Mark Alexander, a dear long-term friend of ours. Yeah. And so it's giving you, depending on what you love, how you, if you're left brain, right brain, how that looks, we're bringing all those elements together, which is always fun. And sometimes we do it together live, but this time we decided to make separate segments, which I think gives so much more information for everybody. So, cool. Yeah. And they all give discounts for stuff too, Glynis and Mark, which is great. Okay, so one of the first things that I wrote down that came to me was about our weather. Interesting topic. It's that what I got is that our weather is going to continue to change. And if you've been paying attention to what's happening, especially in the US, but around the world, our weather has changed. And some people may think, well, every 50 years it changes and all these kind of things. I think a lot of it has to do with our climate change. And if you've not paid attention or kind of poo-pooed it and think it's not a big deal, I think it's going to be more in our radar. It's going to be kind of affecting people, whether it's, in your travel or things that you have planned. One of the things that I wrote down is if you're traveling and you have some things planned and the weather does change, make sure you're traveling with people that are flexible because it may affect maybe, an outdoor gathering, a wedding or a ceremony. It could just be this, and it might not be, but I feel like our weather around the world is going to have more of an intensity. And I think we've been seeing this little by little. So this isn't a great surprise, but I feel like for 2024, it's going to be more, you got to pay attention. You can't just ignore some of that. And
so when you say you wrote it down, does that mean your guides are telling you this?
Yes.
Like, how do you get this information? Like, what exactly are you feeling when you say that? I'm just curious.
I know. Well, Dana, you've been around for a long time with me, but for anyone that this is new, when I meditate and go, okay, I want to know about 2024. I want to know about this situation or that situation. I start getting visuals and feelings and I write them down and it feels like, oh, okay. So probably a little bit might be called automatic writing, where I'm channeling this information and guided, and I don't know, I'm not attached to where it goes, but it's more of like, this is what we should pay attention to. This might be something that's important. And again, when we have like this weather, for some people, it may be like, well, 20 years ago, we had weather like that. So is it that bad? But I think it's about being aware that things are changing. And when we look at what's going on in our industry with cattle and food and all those things,
like industrial stuff,
what we're doing with cars and vehicles and pollution, all of that is affecting our climate and affecting us as humans. And so it's not just how is the weather changing, but how are we part of the solution, as well as what is going on that maybe we need to have more of a wake-up call. We need to pay attention. And I think it's really easy not to pay attention. And some people already seriously do. They've made some big life changes. But I think can be, when it affects you on a personal level, I think we pay attention more. So going back to your question, my guides. I channel this information. I kind of went a big circle, but part of it is, I see all these things and I have to trust what's showing up. And I think that's the biggest thing about people being intuitive is we want validation. And when you are channeling information, you're hopeful in the sense of my interpretation is this is what I'm sensing. And I think there is a responsibility on all of us to take care of our planet, which is going to affect us by our weather.
Okay. So I think in 2024, it's going to be a little more visible for us. Is that what you're saying? Like we're going to be forced to pay attention to it more if we choose to open our eyes. Or
absolutely. Like I said, I think some people can make an excuse like, well, this happened so many years ago. I mean, we're in Colorado. We've had some big storms here, and I'm not saying it's going to be huge storms, but I do feel there's going to be times where we're going to get some ahas. And I know that the Farmer's Almanac will talk about these predictions. So I haven't even looked at that, but that should be curious. I should. It's about understanding, are we getting or paying attention to what's happening around us? And I think sometimes we just put the blinders on. And I think weather may be a way that it might affect the way we perceive things or how we're showing up or things like that. And for some, I think they're going to ignore it. But I think for others are like, wow, look at this.
I think we get desensitized to so many things, like all these bad hurricanes that have been hitting along the coast where it affects those people tremendously. The rest of the country may not
pay
attention as much as we should because it's not affecting us.
And we think it's not affecting us because it's in another zip code. But bottom line, it is affecting us because it may affect, how we're getting our food, or it might be affecting
price of things.
Absolutely. And so we are being affected, but we don't see the immediate effect. So we don't attach it to, it's the weather. It's the domino later on that, pebble in the pond.
The economy.
It's just the economy. So I think we're going to see some more of those things. And if you're listening to this podcast, obviously you are, by listening to it, if that radar is up a little bit and you're starting to see all these things happening, it means pay attention because these are messages from the universe saying, we got to make change. We got to pay attention. Yeah, wake up. So that's part of it. I think this is a very simple thing, but it's going to be very interesting because this is a year that we're voting for our president of the United States. So politics is already huge in our face. And I think there's going to be a ton of stress because I think our country has already a lot, and this is other countries as well, that there's going to be a lot of these things. But talking about the US, it's very very divided. We're very divided as a country. And either we talk about it or we don't say anything. I think the politics is going to be much more in our face and much more heightened for people to take a side. So you may have some arguments with individuals, or you may decide, hey, I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to cause any more friction with family and friends. But I think the political arena is going to be even I'm going to use the word angry because that's what comes to mind. What happens with that, because it is an example of leadership in our country, it gives the image it's okay to be rude. It's okay to call people names. It's okay not to tell the truth. It's almost like our leadership is setting an example that we have permission to behave poorly. And here we are voting in people to lead our country, but they're not setting examples. The way for anyone to become more visible in the political arena is to bully somebody else. And so we can't.
The more obnoxious they are, the more
they're
visibility they get. Yeah. And that's kind of proven is like they get more press coverage if they're obnoxious.
Right.
Yeah.
And to me, that's showing people in our country it's okay to behave like this. So we've got to be aware that that behavior is unacceptable. So who we vote for, who we talk about, who we support.
Well, the last time we had an election, we had that whole insurrection incident.
Correct.
And you're saying it's going to be the same or worse?
I think their behavior, I'm not saying that there's going to be an insurrection. I mean, I don't know. I didn't channel that piece. What I got is that people could treat other people like this, or leadership may think that's okay because that's what that's our leadership in this country, that this is how we can behave and this is how we get liked. This is how we get votes. This is how we get money is because of their behavior. What is that telling other
Everyone
people?
Else.
And I'm not saying everyone is going to follow that. So either you're going to turn the TV off, you're not going to vote, you're not going to donate, but there's going to be so many people around that feels like, yeah, this is how we should do things. And we're allowed to do that, which I think is going to affect social media. So it's going to allow people to be more probably obnoxious and fight and not listen and do things that we may feel inappropriate.
So we should pull ourselves away from social media now.
Well, one of the things I wrote down is I feel like our voice being vocal is going to be critical this year. So what you say and what you hear are very important, how those are perceived. So whatever you're saying to people, you need to be very clear on what you are trying to present, what you want people to know. And if you're listening to somebody, as you always say, listen to understand, don't listen to respond. And if we don't listen clearly to somebody, we're going to misinterpret what we're being told.
Okay.
So when I look at what's going on in politics, what's going on in social media, people's behavior, things can get really stirred up, which to me can cause a lot of friction in families, in careers, in our communities. So really get clear before you get the knee-jerk reaction in life, and not just say what you're feeling at the moment, but think it through. And because everyone videos everything, it may be captured for a really long time. So watch your P's and Q's, as they used to say. Watch what you're saying. Listen very contently, or what's not the right word? Listen very carefully to people. And then even repeat back, is this what you're trying to tell me? Because what you're going to find is things are going to be misinterpreted.
Interesting. As a general rule, not just Mercury in retrograde.
Yeah. And then add Mercury in retrograde to it. Now, I don't know, exactly what Glynis and Mark are going to say, but that's what I've been getting is there's just this intensity of how we're heard, what we're saying, and especially with politics being that lead in what happened. Like you said, 3 years ago was a shit show, right? So what's going to happen now? Because people like to ramp it up. What are we going to do to get to the next level to get people's attention or in our politics?
And we've had, going on 4 years of continued divisiveness. So it's going to
how do we ramp it up?
Crazy.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
So I wrote down COVID. It's not that I think COVID's going to come back like it was a few years ago, but I do believe viruses are going to get really strong. We have built a certain kind of immunity. I think people are a little bit like, I don't want to go back to this. But with travel, I have felt that it's still like an incubator for viruses. I think I think there's still a lot going on. So pay attention, be smart. If you're doing long travel, bring in your mask, bring in your
Sure.
not antibiotics, but your.
How do I stop getting sick?
Stay away from me. No.
Don't let the kids go to school.
Yeah. I think that when we look at health, sometimes our bodies are purging things and going through things. And I think
there's a spiritual thing.
Yeah, I think there's a spiritual part for you. And just so everyone know, it's not my fault.
It's not.
No. But I think there's a piece of that. I also think it's when we get consistently sick, it's our body saying, take a break, say no, create some boundaries, and not take care of everybody. Yeah. And I think you do that.
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
So I think there's a piece to it. But I think and I don't want people to go crazy about all of these viruses, but I do feel they're going to ramp up a little bit.
Okay.
And I think it's because lots of reasons. One, I think viruses are getting stronger. Number two is I think people are probably a little bit like, I don't want to.
Not as careful about.
I think there's a little bit of I'm burnt out from COVID and doing all that stuff that we want to kind of go back before that. But I think it's still going to show up. And people are traveling and people are getting out. So I want people to have a great life and not go into fear. But I think there's going to be some stuff. So pay attention, be smart, take care of your health.
Boost your immune system.
Just do the good things.
Take all that zinc.
Yes.
And vitamin D.
Absolutely. Sleep well.
I need to take my own advice.
I know. we laugh because I don't usually get sick, knock on wood. But
thank goodness. Yeah. Thank goodness.
The next one I kind of took a note on was our economy. And from everything I've read too, this is which Glynis will talk about. We're in a year 8, which is for prosperity.
Chances are you started this year with hope that this would be the year when you finally get what you really want. But here we are, already a few weeks in. Has anything really changed, or are you still feeling confused about your next steps? Is 2024 already turning into a rinse and repeat of 2023? With struggles, frustrations, and stress that you want to be over and done with, now is the time to take back your power. Join spiritual teacher Deb Shepherd for Igniting Your Sacred Intentions, a live online workshop and ritual ceremony on January 20th. Over 3 exciting hours, Deb will lead you through a series of powerful rituals and tools that ignite all of your outer world into great abundance of happiness, wealth, and vitality. Plus, as a big thank you for being a Spirited Straight Talk listener, when you enroll in Ignite Your Sacred Intentions now, you'll get it for free, whereas it's $97 for the general public. Go to debshepherd.com to secure your spot. Use coupon code SST100 to get it free.
And even like the Year of the Dragon and all that we're going to have. I mean, this is...
I definitely... It'll be interesting because I pulled the Year of the Dragon information to share as well. So I'm interested to see how this lines up with what you're predicting.
Yeah, I think this is a good year for prosperity. I really feel like, even though I've talked a little bit about, the weather and, viruses and stuff like that, politics, it is a time to make money. It's a time to manifest. It's a time to see, our wealth come in. And to me, prosperity doesn't always mean just money, which is always great, but it could be a community, or it could be your family. It could be just a lot of other areas that we talk about for prosperity or abundance. But I do see the economy going up and down a little bit, which I think is really typical, but I don't see huge drops or huge highs. So I'm not telling people how to invest, because people that invest see things very differently. So to me, use your intuition, use your skill set for that. But I keep seeing like, oh, gas prices are down. Oh, gas prices are up. Oh, housing prices down.
Like little fluctuation.
Little fluctuations back and forth. And so to me, it's going to be a constant little up and down. And so don't go into fear like, oh, it's down. It's going to go down. Oh, it went back up. I just kept seeing this up and down, almost like a teeter-totter.
Okay.
But nothing crazy at this point, but it doesn't mean that there's something, I don't know why I'm getting right now, but there may be something September or October where this is right before the election. So maybe that's it. There may be some concerns if you're, a big investor, but if you're a person that just lives their life and not big investor, but things like that, you're going to be okay. You're just going to see the teeter-totter go back and forth. Okay. And on days that things are lower in price, bulk up if you can. If you can do some more things in your freezer, or make sure your tank is full of gas, those kind of things. Do those things.
Gotcha.
But I don't feel...
So you said year 8. And
sorry.
so that is...
She likes to correct me. Thank you. No, it's good because now I'm thinking in my head, but not everyone understands what I'm saying. So in numerology that Glynis is going to talk about, we add...
In the next one, next chapter.
The next part of our series, you add 2 and 2, 4. So the 2024.
And so 2024, add it all together to a single digit equals
8.
Which is also the infinity sign.
Absolutely. This is why Dana's here, because she understands that I start talking and not everyone's like, what is she talking about? So it brings it back. Thank goodness. Give Dana a hand for saying yes. God, I didn't know what Deb was talking about. Yeah. So in numerology, you add numbers up to go to 1 to 9 digits, except for certain numbers, 11 and 22 and things like that. But the 8 is the infinity, but it also means a year of abundance and prosperity, which is really cool.
8 means 8 equals it's a number of abundance, or is that because it's infinity?
Yeah,
the infinity symbol. Yes to both. Is that what you're saying?
I think the vibration of the number can bring in. It's a number of money, abundance, deserving, receiving, value. Yeah,
amazing. I like it. It's a good 8.
It's a good number, and we do know that Glynis is going to really go into that.
The numerology more,
which is more. The one thing I did see, too, I'm going to actually go to this one before I'm going to go to that one. So I have things written down. But social media and AI, because you were asking me, what do I see with AI?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I was curious because that's a big deal. And that played such a huge role in our last election with all whatever happened, whatever your belief is, with whatever happened with the election tampering. Like that seemed to be such a big thing with social media. And I don't know how AI plays into that, but AI has taken a huge step over the last year.
And it can be scary. Going back to this being a year of your voice, I think many people, which is surprising, but more people are going to jump on some sort of social media to have a voice. So how much we're bombarded now with all these different platforms, I feel like it's just going to explode even more so.
What?
What
do you mean?
I think people feel like if they're not being heard or there's money to be made or they have something to say, they're going to jump on social media. You're just going to have to it's going to expand. I just think that, and I don't think like we're a country here, if you're in the US, we're a country here that believes in freedom of speech. With that said, are there still things in place to protect others that are hearing or watching things that may not be true?
You have listeners all over the world, though. What are some of and maybe you'll get to that, but there's got to be some things on a global scale that you can share as well, I bet. Well, maybe we'll get to that. It's probably on your list somewhere.
Well, I think when I look at it, I think social media has made our world smaller.
Yeah, it has.
Which is beautiful on one end, that we can connect with people all over the world. And
because you have clients and listeners all over the world.
Absolutely. Yeah. What a beautiful thing that, we can communicate. With that said, it means whether it's positive or negative, the information is sent out to the entire world.
Yeah, that's true.
And that means, if someone talks about what's happening in their country or whatever in their community, are people going to believe it or not because it's on social media? People believe, it must be true. I think when you bring in AI, there's another element of what is really the truth out there. Because if you're not doing your research and you're not taking time to really see if what's being posted is true, are you believing what's out there? Which I think can be very catastrophic to people, where the judgment and the divisions that can be made are based on, oh, did you see this? It must be true. And it's not. It's not. So we have to really be diligent, in my opinion, if you're going to be on any type of social media, to do your research, find out the truth. And so
don't just believe what you see on social media.
Absolutely. And, we're a society that's used to things happening very quickly. So when we download information or we do some searching and we see something, there's times we just go, that it must be because it looks so real. What they're saying seems so authentic. Then we accept that versus maybe we should take time to really dig a little bit deeper, because we want to know information quickly, and we are a quick society that we just want to know information. So my biggest thing on any of this next year is, because it is about people's voice, about being heard, it's about listening, being clear. Do your due diligence. When you have anything that feels not right and your gut tells you, dig a little deeper. Don't believe it until you really know for sure.
Well, with AI too, things can look so real. So it's almost like you have to double check everything, triple check everything you hear or see.
And I think part of that is, let's say someone is trying to hurt a company or an individual or a political group or a religious group. That can be used to really take down and hurt a community when it's not even true. And with us having all these wars already against, different cultures, what if that takes it to a whole new level? And so to me, it's listen to your heart, listen to your gut. What is the person's intention for posting those things, whether it's an AI or whether it's a social media person trying to find a platform? Be cautious. And what if it happened to you, where someone said things about you that were not true? And how do you recover from that? So put yourself in that situation as you're listening to any story out there. Pay attention.
Yeah.
And I think it's around the world. I think that's why, if you look at anything, TikTok or Facebook or whatever, we have within a very short time been able to have our story or someone's story told throughout the world. Isn't that just incredible? How many likes or not likes and things like that? So to me, this is going to get even bigger, especially since it's a year that politics is really also there. I think there's going to be a lot of campaigning of how do we say bad things about certain.
So a lot of negative campaigning.
Yeah. To bring that down. What I came back that I kind of skipped over, this is a time of reflection. This is a time for each individual to look at themselves on a personal level about what are they doing for their life. And, we look at this in the beginning of the year. What do you want to create? What do you want to release? What do you want to manifest? What do you want to heal? How do you want to feel with your mind, body, and spirit? With that said, I think this is a really important time to look at where you are, where do you want to be, and not just about the prediction part, but a deep reflection, which might mean meditation, journaling, taking some classes that will allow you to be more mindful. And I think it's becoming at least a little bit more popular. So it's not unusual, but I think, are you going to do that? And I think by doing that, putting it into practice. And I because when we get bombarded by everything around us, we have to always get back to center to look at what we desire and what we want to believe and what we want to create versus all the things that come at us, so that we can be in our power to have a voice, to be able to do the things we want to do and be heard, as well as listening to others. And we do that with reflection.
So between the energy that the year brings, where we are spiritually as a human race, this is kind of putting that together for us into this time being a time for reflection. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. I think just even you and I, the last, few weeks, there's been so many things coming around our energy and in our life that are showing up that we have to really sit back and reflect. What is it that we're trying to do in our life? Where's our center? Where's our heart? And how do we want to manage things? And I think the intensity is going to even be more so, not just for us, but anyone that is being mindful in their life. I think there's going to be more opportunities for these lessons.
Great.
So it's like, if there's going to be a big snowstorm, do you have your gas, your car full of gas? Do you have extra groceries at home? Do you feel like you are prepared? And I feel like that's this year, even though I feel like this year is going to be some really fantastic things. I think we're also going to be, I'm going to use the word tested in our integrity in what we believe and how we're going to show up, which is not a bad thing, but we just can't be passive is the feeling.
And I think last year, if I remember right, you had said last year was the year of things revealing themselves.
Oh, geez, yes.
Which that's exactly what happened.
And this year is like, where do you stand? What's your integrity? What's your, you've got to, I'm not going to say it's more about really being clear of what you believe, your mindfulness, and what's possible for you and how do you want to lead your life. And I think sometimes some people will just kind of, oh, just see what happens and whatever. And I don't think you're going to be able to do that. I think people have to really get more direct.
Which that's fascinating. You say that because that's what you've been talking about in your solution class for the last month, is being the leader in your life, which now that comes full circle for me just now.
Yeah, me too.
That's what that's what our focus is for this year, is how are you going to take a stand in your life to lead your life the way you want to see it
and not be a victim. I think there's so many times where we feel like it's happening to us. And if you have some of these insights beforehand, start getting some clarity. Like, what is it you want to stand up for? What is it that you feel is important to you? Is your mindfulness about our planet or about others or about your finances or partnerships and your communication with all that?
Or your community.
And so how do you want to show up for those things in your life? And how do you want others to show up? So there probably will be some relationship shifts as well. And it's because if you're being much more clear of what that looks like for you, there may be some changes in that too.
That's some ahas right there.
And, I think when politics comes into our country, but I do know that politics is affecting our entire world right now, it has people thinking about what they want to fight for or what they want to stand up for. And I think that shows up in that arena, but it's also important for you to look at what is it in your life that you want to have? What are you going to kind of vote for in your life? Okay. And then I know that you brought up the dragon, because I think I love the Chinese New Year.
The Zodiac.
Zodiac. So you printed some of that off. If you want to talk about it?
I did. Yeah. So let's see if this lines up now.
Yes.
So this year is a year for change, growth, and progress, which 2024 is the year of the dragon. The stabilizing influence of the wood element, this is the wood element Chinese dragon. It inspires imagination, leadership, and new ideas. Dynamic year with opportunities for those open to change, but it may also bring conflict and uncertainty in politics. Oh my gosh, foreign relations and the environment.
Wow.
Emphasizing the need for forgiveness and peaceful resolutions. I think you just said that.
I know. And a longer way I said that, yes. And I think the forgiveness too is not always forgiving others. I think I want to be clear on that as you continue. It's forgiving maybe we abandoned ourselves a while back, or maybe we didn't say what we wanted to say. And so, forgiveness comes from how maybe others can't show up the way you need them for yourself. And so the conflict could be conflict within ourselves of how do we want to show up
or interpret what others do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, which we've been faced with that a little bit lately.
Absolutely.
Is how do we interpret the choices that others make without making it
about ourselves
in a way?
Because it can be hurtful. It can be difficult.
Let's see here. Let me see. The year of the dragon will bring both opportunities and challenges for all the zodiac signs. But those born under the dragon sign experiencing rebirth and growth, while those born under the ox sign may face more obstacles and problems. So I wonder if those are like the polar opposites on the Chinese zodiac. You guys will have to Google it. But it is a good year for change and new possibilities for those who are open to change and willing to take advantage of those new possibilities, although there may be conflicts and uncertainty. So it also says politics, foreign relations, and the environment are all
part of it.
Yeah.
That's interesting for what because I didn't read this before. And I think the environment can be lots of different things. We watched a documentary about food, and they were talking about how much animals do affect in a destructive way, cows mainly, about how it's really affecting the planet. So what are we doing with the responsibility of what we eat? And I'm not here to talk about people's food, but everything that we choose to do, are we choosing it just to say, I deserve this, I desire this, I don't care? Or are you being someone that is, again, are you being mindful of what's happening?
And then the last thing is the 2024, the dragon brings luck, wealth, power, and challenges. So being flexible, I'm getting from what you're saying.
Absolutely.
Being flexible and being open to change is going to be essential to be able to manage what is going to come this year.
I think the biggest thing is many of us want change, but we want to control how it changes and they don't come together, right?
Right.
Change means you're trusting a process. And I talk a lot about trust in the program, is trusting that change happens, but we want it to be a particular way. And that's the conflict is you don't get to control how it changes. You get to control how you respond is what I always say is if you know that these things are going to show up in your life and there may be some challenges and you want to have change. The conflict is how do you respond to those things? And is it a positive or is it a negative? And do you feel like you're the victim or do you feel like, hey, I'm making some changes and I'm having a voice?
Do you remain curious?
Do you remain curious?
We've been talking about that lately too. Do you remain curious?
Sometimes we're resistant because we're in fear and we want to control versus being curious means ask a lot more questions so that you have all the opportunities possible to make some good choices or the best choices possible with what you're giving. These are the tools. And so as we give the predictions for the year, it doesn't mean to scare anybody, but pay attention, be flexible, ask questions, realize that conflict means it's time for a change. There's boundaries set up for us to go, is this working for me anymore? And if it's not, are you open to change? So make this year the best. And I can't wait till everyone hears the whole series because there's so much information that there is no doubt that you can have a great, happy, successful life.
2024.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. I hope it inspired you. If you enjoyed our conversation, make sure you subscribe so that you get notified of new episodes. And let's get connected. Visit debshepard.com for more insights, support, workshops, and a book a session with me. And finally, always remember, your loved ones in spirit are just a thought away. Even though they're on the other side, they're always by your side.